It was August 1971. Tom Sullivan was at a turning point in his life. He was 34 years old and had 6 young children at home. The man who was his boss, his mentor, and his father, Frank C. Sullivan, had died suddenly, and Tom was thrust into the leadership role of Republic Powdered Metals, the company his father had founded. At the same time, the U.S. economy began to slip into a period of stagflation. Despite these pressures, Tom plotted out a course to aggressively grow the company. If he failed, he would sell it. Born in 1937, Tom was the youngest of 6 children in the Irish Catholic Sullivan household. He received a dinner table education in business and entrepreneurship from his father, who was growing the roof coatings business that he founded in 1947. Tom's first direct exposure to the business came when he was just 12 years old, and he accompanied his father on a sales swing through Pennsylvania and New York. Tom demonstrated leadership skills at an early age. During his education at Culver Military Academy, he was a personnel officer and helped to counsel other students. He then attended Miami University of Ohio. While at Miami, Tom was elected president of the freshman class and served on the university senate for 4 years. It was at Miami that he met Jim Carman, a fraternity brother who would later become RPM's president for many years. After graduation, Tom enlisted in the U.S. Navy and served 2 years as a communications officer on a destroyer, the USS Brain, which operated in the Western Pacific. Being a 22-year-old officer and having 60 people under his command helped to further hone his leadership skills. Tom returned to Medina, Ohio to join the family business in 1961 as a division sales manager. Annual sales at Republic were then about $2 million. Tom recognized the company's need for someone with financial acumen to accelerate its growth. 2 years later, he recruited his college friend, Jim Carman, as chief financial officer. This would be the start of a 4-decade partnership in which they set forth to rapidly grow the company. In order to support this growth plan, Tom and several other Republic employees were licensed to sell stock. In 1963, Tom's father arranged for a public offering of RPM stock in Ohio. Tom and the other licensed officers crisscrossed the state and soon sold the full allotment of 25,000 shares for $8 each. Using the cash generated by the stock offering, Tom and Jim officially launched Republic's acquisition program. Among Tom's key learnings were to acquire good companies, keep the existing management teams in place, provide them with resources, and then get out of their way and let them grow. These philosophies form the basis of RPM's successful acquisition program of today. As a result, RPM has the reputation of being the best home for entrepreneurial companies in the paint and coatings industry. After his father's passing, Tom knew that he had to keep growing the business, and to do so rapidly if the company was to survive. Soon, a holding company called RPM Inc. was formed, allowing for faster acquisition growth. This sense of urgency and a need to quickly seize opportunities were Tom's hallmarks and have been ingrained in RPM's culture. They drove Tom to implement a number of key strategies during the 1970s that continue to guide the company's actions today. He began to expand RPM's business in international markets and open warehouses in England, Sweden, Norway, Germany, Australia, and Nigeria. Products from these warehouses were sold worldwide. Tom committed to rewarding RPM shareholders for their investment with a consistently increasing cash dividend. Starting in 1973, RPM has increased its dividend every year for more than 4 decades, a record that very few companies can match. He instituted a disciplined annual planning process in 1977. A key element was for RPM's operating units and the corporate office to mutually agree upon growth objectives. Tom wanted RPM to be an entrepreneur's club, where its companies could share technologies, best practices, and purchasing power for the benefit of all. This became the basis for RPM's Connections Creating Value program today. He set a high bar for business ethics and corporate governance. By the late 1970s, RPM's board was mostly comprised of outside directors, decades before it was required by the New York Stock Exchange. Tom also established the basis for RPM's current code of conduct, which is called the Values and Expectations of 168. In 1979, RPM's revenues reached $100 million. This accomplishment seemed implausible to Tom 8 years earlier. Achieving it gave him the confidence to continue forging ahead with his strategy, which was made up of internal growth initiatives and acquisitions. Many companies do not survive the transition to second-generation leadership, but through his determination, vision, and leadership, Tom beat the odds. Under his direction, RPM grew from an $11 million family business in 1971 to a $2 billion global corporation when he stepped down as CEO in 2002. During that time period, RPM achieved record sales every year and record net income in nearly every year as well. He remained on the board and helped guide RPM to nearly $5 billion in sales in fiscal 2016. Away from RPM, and with support and guidance from his wife Sandy, Tom has made significant contributions to the Northeast Ohio community and its charitable organizations. His contributions are more than financial. He often gives of his time, connections, and expertise to help these organizations grow and reach more people in need. Throughout Tom's career, his most enduring trait, and perhaps the secret to his success, has been his belief in people. He has a great way of connecting with others, setting high standards for them, and believing in their abilities. Because of this support, they find the confidence and strength, even during difficult times, to rise to the occasion and meet his positive expectations. Due to Tom's leadership and drive for growth, he leaves a lasting legacy within his own family, in his community, and with the current generation of leadership at RPM that will continue to perpetuate its growth and success.